Hello everyone. Today we're going to start a new case study, which is the Anthem data breach happened in 2015. So here we start with some disclaimers. The company involved in the cyber breach hasn't publicly released all the details of the incidents and probably will never do so, but enough information exists online and within the cybersecurity community to allow us to piece together what likely happened during the data breach. So we actually got a lot of information from public source. Although care has been taken care to ensure accuracy of the information provided, the presenter assumed no responsibility. Therefore, the presenter also assumed no responsibility for the consequence of using such information. Okay, so this case study was adapted from the Anthem data breach in 2015. And as I said, information was taken from many public sources and modified for education purposes. And at the end of this presentation, you get a list of additional resources, additional links. So here is a YouTube video. So this is the YouTube video on the Anthem data breach, and you can take a look, and that happens in February the 5th, 2015. And the second source is actually a government report, okay, because it's actually an insurance company, so they are required to provide public information. So here you actually get more detailed information from this document here. So I will start give you a very brief introduction about the Anthem data breach, which is one of the largest hack in history. Okay, it is a very sophisticated external cyber attack. And this data breach, so what happened is as many as 80 million records were exposed. 80 million records. That's probably like every 1 out of 4 American. So the information include the personal information from your current and former members, such as their names, birthday, medical ID. Now here, social security number. This is the thing really bugs people, and it causing a lot of issues because everyone know you want to be able to change the social security number, and once people get all this information, they can be you. Okay, they can file tax, fraudulent tax return, they can apply new credit card on it. Just all kinds of a whole can of worms. So other things like street address, email address, employment information, income data. So this is discussion question 1, just briefly explain what happens in the Anthem data breach. And if you compare this one with the target data breach, in target data breach it's mostly just credit card information. Here, social security number, okay? And that makes the Anthem data breach have a lot more serious impact on everyday people, okay? Just give you a very simple example. We are actually in a very small college town, and just in the year of 2016, we have over 100 fraudulent tax return just in this small town. Okay, we never have so many fraudulent tax return before. Does this directly link to the Anthem data breach? We don't know, but we are our insurance company is actually from Anthem. Okay, so this is just speculation. Okay, so what happens here is on December the 10th, 2014, hackers compromised a database owned by the Anthem, which is the second largest health insurance company. Okay, the company wasn't discovered this until January 27th, 2015, which it's probably like a month or like 40 days. Okay, and what happened is one of the database administrator, he find out his login credential was used to run a questionable query, a query he didn't initiate. Okay, and that causing the issue, and they start looking into the problem and dig out the entire scheme. So the good news is they respond very, very quickly. So 2 days later, Anthem alert federal authorities about this internal investigation, and they just determined this was indeed a data breach, a very large-scale data breach. A week later, the company disclosed the data breach to the public. Okay, and this is actually, as I said, one of the largest hack in history. Now, again, if you compare this case with the target case, you can see how quickly they respond here. That's a good case study on instant response. So here's the timeline. On December the 10th, 2014, hacker compromised a major Anthem database, and they stayed there for 48 days. On January 27th, 2015, an Anthem database administrator discovered his login credential was used to run a questionable query, and they alert the FBI. They disclose everything to the public very quickly, and maybe the quick and the proper response saved the CEO's job. That might be. I don't know the detail, but I haven't heard anyone resign because of this. So again, if you compare this with the target, another interesting thing you find out is this again happens during the Thanksgiving Christmas break. Okay, that's a very interesting thing. So here is a diagram showing you the overview of the Anthem data breach. So here is the hacker, which usually they call it a deep pender. Okay, we already find out who the hacker were. So the hacker using a suite of different tools, hacking tools like email phishing. Of course, they're using this. They also register some malicious domains. Okay, and they also install some malicious software, malwares like a Scanbox, like a malicious VPN software. So they combine all these things together. They compromise some of the Anthem employees' account. Okay, so this is actually a much sophisticated email phishing attack. Okay, anyway, since they compromised the employee's account, the hacker hack into the Anthem network. Okay, again, they do the same thing. They do privilege escalation. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about privilege escalation. I covered this in the target data breach. So they got at least 5 IT people's login credential. Okay, if you think about this, this is actually a pretty big number. Okay, now based on that, they compromise one of the database admin account. That happens in December 10th, 2014. So they hack into one of the Anthem major database. They stay there for 40 days, steal over 80 million records, and they using a technique called data dripping. So basically, they steal small amount of data every day. Okay, just like water dripping. And it was discovered internally. Then the hackers start selling the information, and that's the reason why we see numerous IRS tax fraud. Okay, and Anthem eventually announced the news. So here I want you to compare the phishing scheme in the Anthem case and in the target case. What are the things in common? What are the things different? Now, if you compare these two cases, you see the email phishing is always the starting point. Okay, and it's only serve as starting point, and those employees are used as stepping stones to more valuable targets. And in the Anthem case, it's actually more sophisticated. Okay, they register malicious domain, they install malwares. Okay, and a little bit more details. The hackers utilize several different methods. Email phishing, they register fraudulent domains, okay, and use the fake VPN software, and they also use a software, a framework called Scanbox. We're going to cover this later, okay, and data creeping. So talk a little bit more about the social engineering. So we have to face the fact that most attacks today do not start with very complicated zero-day or DMZ zone hack. Okay, instead, a lot of them happen with phishing, email phishing, or some other social engineering attack. Okay, all of these are actually used together, and this has become possible because humans are the most vulnerable parts in the entire security scheme. Okay, so the phishing attack, the company confirmed like at least 5 IT people, their credential was compromised. And it's very possible that the attacker tried to compromise the network as early as April 2014. It's about 6 months before the actual hack. Okay, they were defeated. However, they still stay in the network and eventually keep trying. Eventually, they just grab the data. Okay, so this actually imposes a very challenging question for us. You find out there's a hacker in your database, in your network. Okay, you did some cleaning job. You try to expel the hackers, but how do you know your network is really clean? Okay, how do you know your network is safe now? Okay, this is a very challenging question. Okay, a later report showed that at least 50 Anthem employee accounts were hacked. At least 90 computer system was compromised. So these are pretty alarming numbers. So here's really the discussion question. Is it possible they try to compromise the network like 6 months before the actual hack? However, they keep trying it. So how do you know if you really clean up the network? Okay, this is a very difficult, very challenging situation. One of the things you can do is like hire some third-party contractor, make sure some qualified third-party contractor let them scan your network, make sure your network is clean. Another thing you can do is just enforce a password reset company-wide. I know this is very annoying. Okay, it's extremely annoying, but we did similar things last year because there is a very possible cyber attack, and we are not quite sure about the scale of the attack. So we actually just ask everyone on campus reset their password. Okay, so reset all the password, disconnect all the affected system, which is a difficult job to do. So the hacker actually collect a lot of those information with social engineering. For example, the Anthem based on data posted on LinkedIn or other data posting sites, they are using Teradata for data warehouse. Okay, so if you just do some Google, you'll find out Teradata is one of the database platform. It's itself is a very robust data platform. However, you unintentionally leaked information, so the hacker knows you are using Teradata. So how do you protect your information from misuse in social media and on the internet? That's another challenging question. Okay, now this information alone does not make a huge difference, but the hacker can use this information. Once they step into the network, okay, they know, okay, what the platform you are using, what the database you are using. It just makes their life much easier. As I said, if they can just search all kinds of vulnerabilities on the Teradata or on other systems, and it just makes things easier. So we do some financial impact analysis. The average cost of each medical records, it's like $200, okay, back in 2016-15. Okay, so now you have 80 million records. So the total cost for the company is like 1.6 billion. Okay, that's a lot of money, 1.6 billion. Okay, just for one cyber incident. So exactly who did it? We have enough evidence to suggest it's someone called Eximum or Shell Crew or Group 72, or they name it as Dependa. Okay, you can get more information from the link below. So we talk about the hacker using fraudulent domains. Exactly how? Here's the detail. So WellPoint is the parent company of Anthem. So they have a domain name called wellpoint.com, okay, which WellPoint acquired the Anthem, and they are in the transition phase, trying to merge the Anthem website to WellPoint. Okay, so what happened is the hacker registered a malicious domain on April 2014, which is we11.we11point.com. Okay, and you can see this is trying to mimic the legitimate domain, and if you don't pay attention to it, it just look like wellpoint.com, and it just look exactly the same. Okay, so the Anthem name change may have created a triggering event to stage the attack. Again, so this is just apparently this is a fraudulent domain. Okay, of course that domain was shut down after the incidents. Okay, so the hacker also created several other domains, subdomains, like myhr.we11point.com, HR solutions. So those are the real subdomains in wellpoint.com. Okay, now here's the one, eccentric wellpoint.com. Okay, Centrix is a VPN software, and it's a very popular one. It's used in Anthem. So the hacker create this fake domain, and they also put a fake VPN software. Okay, once the people just download the fake VPN software, okay, you just got hit. Okay, and there are many different ways you can just wrap the legitimate software with a malware. So for example, here's the legitimate software, here's the malware. You can just wrap them together, become one another software. Okay, and it's easy to do. There are many different ways to do this, and that's the reason why a lot of company, when they provide a download, they also provide a hash code or MD5 hash code. You have to compare the hash code to make sure you download the correct software. Okay, so here the hacker also created HTTPS websites with a valid certificate. Okay, and you know why I put a valid here. Okay, this certificate was actually signed by this organization. Okay, this is actually part of the Dependa. So it was not signed by Anthem. So this is a common myth people have about HTTPS. They think you are safe. That's not what HTTP designed for. What does HTTPS really tells you? It only tells you you are connected using some secure channel. Okay, and you are using one of the website is actually using a kind of quote-unquote valid certificate. Okay, It's only as valid as the domain name suggested. If it suggests we11point.com and it's valid for we11point.com, it's not valid for Anthem or for wellpoint.com. Okay, so don't assume you are safe when you are using HTTPS. Similar things can happen if somebody register a fake Amazon website. Okay, he can just create a fake Amazon certificates, not exactly called Amazon. For example, he can replace the letter O with number 0, and he can just create a valid certificate. Okay, so here is more information about Scanbox, which is the notorious malicious software framework used. It's actually built on top of JavaScript. Okay, so CrowdStrike published a snapshot of the Dependa attack framework known as Scanbox. So Scanbox, as I said, is JavaScript, so it's executed on the web browser, in a web browser. Therefore, it will bypass most anti-malware detection. It's not a malware. It's just a legitimate JavaScript framework and used for bad purpose. Okay, so antivirus software, anti-malware software will not be able to detect it. Okay, so it can do a lot of different things with different plugins. For example, it can tell what software you are using, okay, what browsers you are using, what flash you are using, okay, some SharePoint or PDF or Chrome security setting, Java version you are using, some internal settings, some keyloggers. Okay, so as I said, this is built on top of JavaScript. Okay, and the main purpose of Scanbox is to collect information about your system, okay, without actually doing harm to your system. Okay, it can actually collect a lot of useful information. For example, they can know the last page you visit, operating system, okay, which here already provide very useful information, because if I know you are running on a out-of-dated Windows 7 machine, the hacker can just easily hack into your Windows 7 machine using some of the known vulnerabilities. Okay, they can know your language settings, screen setting, web browser using. If they know you are using an out-of-dated Firefox, okay, they can just hack into it. Your geographic location, the security software you are using, some other programs you are using. For example, Java. Okay, Java is another notorious, Java is used very commonly, but Java also have a lot of security vulnerabilities. Okay, the other one is Adobe Flash. This one is also notorious for security issues, tons and tons of security vulnerabilities. Okay, other software, they have the same issue. Microsoft Office, Adobe Acrobat readers, they all have all kinds of vulnerabilities. Okay, so if the hacker knows you are using an old version of this software, he can easily hack into your machine using those vulnerabilities. The other thing the hacker did is they can log the keystroke. Okay, it's like a keylogger. Okay, so the Scanbox has been deployed on some websites. Okay, and in that way, once you visit that website, okay, they will start collecting your information. They can also log whatever you typed in. Okay, Scanbox will bypass most current antivirus and anti-malware detection, because as I said, it's not a malware. It's running on the website, running on the web browser. It can steal your information without being noticed by the end user. So that's Scanbox. Okay. Let me talk a little bit about the lab here. So you can download the lab 4 from this course. The lab 4 is on the web security. Okay, we have a couple of lab before this, like lab 3 is on SQL injection, lab 2 is on the email phishing. All those are useful lab and directly related to this case study. Now this one, lab 4, is on web security. Okay, on this web security lab, we actually talk about the first thing is SSS demo. That's something very simple. The section 2 is actually talk about malicious JavaScript code, which is very similar to Scanbox. Okay, so if you go ahead and take a look at the demo here, just follow this instruction, you'll be able to see how the hackers can actually, using a very simple piece of JavaScript code like this, they will be able to actually implement a keyloggers. So whatever you type in, hacker will be able to find it here. Okay, so you can just go ahead and take a look at this lab here. Now let's go back to the lecture here. So this is something called, usually people call it website hijacking, because you are infusing your malicious code or malware into legitimate websites. So at least one piece of malware used by the group was intended to mimic the legitimate VPN software by Wellpoint. Okay, phishing domain disguise itself look like legitimate domain and the poisoned VPN software, so they just target at the legitimate users. So the hacker was using different kind of customer backdoors, not publicly available. Okay, so this is reason why it's called advanced malware attack. It's basically using a variety of malware people haven't seen before. So if you're using some known malwares, okay, the hacker, a lot of antivirus software will be able to scan that. But using some of those tools, you'll be able to disguise some existing malware and make slight changes and bypass the scan of malware and antivirus software. Okay, so that make this attack to be a sophisticated, advanced type of attack. In addition, the hacker set up some kind of backdoor on the database. So the innocent attacker implement a backdoor process on a database client, trying to extract records from Anthem database. And by using the compromised administrator account, the hacker will just be able to steal the data and leak all the database records. So here's the question: what are the common ways for backdoor attack? Okay, there are many different things you can do about backdoor attack. As I said, malware, some kind of malware, or the other thing is just using existing vulnerabilities, or if you know somebody's login account, you will be able to do so. Okay, and data dripping. Okay, so basically just steal data, small amount at a time. Okay, behavioral analysis. Now, if you pay attention to what we talk about here and also in a targeted data breach, you notice something called privileged account management. So almost all type of cyber attacks involve some kind of privileged account misuse. Okay, so the hacker use your admin account to do bad things. So normal account management and monitoring tools won't help you much. You actually need some type of behavior analysis. If these are suspicious behavior, no matter who did it, you want to report it or raise alert. That is the concept of behavior analysis. Okay, if there's many different third-party software you can do behavior analysis. So for example, if somebody using my admin account to log into a database and steal some data, or just take some data, the user should get a report about all this type of activities. So user behavior analysis and monitoring, an individual at Anthem recognized this abnormal behavior. Okay, and this abnormal behavior was unnoticed for many days. And these attacking activities are transparent to the security staff. However, the activity itself was not stealthy. So they should using some kind of data loss prevention software to monitor the traffic, but it didn't detect this suspicious activity. That basically means we need additional user behavior monitoring and analytic tools to help us do this. So we need a better abnormal behavior detection to identify pattern of normal behavior. And when something abnormal behavior happens, you want to get a notice. Okay, so the 80 million record was transferred in smaller chunk, so it's harder to detect. But there are still things you could do to make the trans-state monitoring and more likely to be detected, because after all, it's 80 million records. It's not a small amount of data. Okay, if you have something in place, you should be able to detect it. So user behavior analytics is changing the face of cybersecurity by closing one of the greatest vulnerabilities. What do you do with someone who is in system with legitimate credential? How to prevent insiders' misbehavior? How to prevent compromised insider accounts? Okay, and some common techniques used are like big data, okay, big data analysis to build some baseline data, and the machine learning algorithms to detect abnormal behavior. Okay, so those are very hot topics nowadays. The other question people ask during this data breach is, can data encryption help to defeat the attack? Because apparently in the Anthem case, the data was not encrypted. Would that be an issue? Okay, so here's some analysis. Most healthcare providers encrypt their data in the database with firewall protection, and also encrypt the data during the transition. Okay, however, what might be missing is the database encryption should be done on a record-by-record base, and the auditing system should log all the access and detect unusual behavior. So let me explain a little bit here. So we all know when you start transferring the data, you should encrypt the data, and that's what most people did. Okay, and we all know if you transfer data within different units, you should encrypt the data. Okay, and also with the firewall protection. Okay, but all those things was actually based on the database. Okay, so if someone already hacked into your database, okay, there's no protection mechanism to stop him doing so. So that's the reason why sometimes people propose to use record-by-record encryption. So even if you hack into the database, once you want to access some record, you still need additional authentication, authorization, or encryption. Okay. Now, of course, this will make things much slower with additional cost. Okay. Whether you want to do this, it's really your judgment call. Okay. But here is just a possible scenario. Okay. Another thing is the auditing system. Even if somebody log in with admin account, your auditing system should pay special attention. Okay, make sure those are legitimate users. And apparently in this case here, the auditing system didn't do a very good job. Okay, so this is talking about data encryption. So some people suspect that Anthem did not encrypt their data, and they probably encrypt the PHI, which is the health data, but they didn't encrypt identification data because the PHI was not compromised. And in this case here, the HIPAA has no explicit requirement on data encryption. HIPAA is actually one of the regulation on privacy and security issues in healthcare industry. Okay, that's just a very common referred healthcare regulation. Okay, so this data encryption, it's really your judgment call. Okay, how you want to do the encryption, at what level you want to do the encryption. A little bit more thoughts. Once the hacker compromised the admin credential, no encryption can help you. But if all the access are logged and monitored, 80-minute record should really stand out. Encryption can add cost and make day-to-day management and a little bit more burdensome. Okay, so that's the reason why there are pros and cons with additional data encryption. Another thing people ask is two-factor authentication strong enough to defeat Anthem attack? Okay, so two-factor authentication has been very popular nowadays, and apparently in the Anthem case, Anthem did not require what is called multi-factor authentication for the entire system. So only part of the system was implemented with two-factor, but apparently the other part was not. And that makes things easier for hacker to hack into it once they steal the login credential. So apparently the hacked database didn't require two-factor authentication, and that's kind of like an unforgivable sin. So is two-factor authentication strong enough? Okay, well, it's very strong. Okay, and it will help a lot. Okay, here my focus is actually want to tell you something about the vulnerabilities of the two-factor authentication itself. Okay, how do you break two-factor authentications? Okay, there are many different ways. For example, you can make a fake SM short message to your cell phone. Okay, it's not hard to do it. You can just get some equipment in Amazon. You'll be able to send fake short message. Okay, and this two-factor authentication also having problem with automated process, automated application. Okay, and some people can do the session hijacking, which means the malware can capture the session token and able to maintain and use it. Okay, so if this is a validated session, your two-factor authentication is beaten. What this means is usually when you do two-factor authentication, sometimes there's a checkbox saying, remember this device for 30 days, something like that. Okay, it just to make things easier so people don't have to do two-factor every time. However, if you check that, remember this device for 30 days, then that also means during this period of time, two-factor authentication is useless. It doesn't help you at all. So if the hacker hack into your system, he can still steal things. Okay. So on February 8th, 2015, Anthem reworked its privileged IT account. Okay. Now it requires 3 layers of authentication, not only 2 layers, 3 layers. So 1 permanent login, 1 physical token like your ID card or badge or whatever, and 1 temporary password. And Is this good enough? Yes. Is this necessary? Probably not. And some people call this overreaction. Okay? It's too painful to business operation. Think about for every IT operation, you do 3-factor authentication. It's very painful. Okay? It's really a trade-off between better security and the ease of use. Okay? I mean, after the Anthem data breach, maybe it will be much easier to promote this kind of 3-layer authentication. But in other companies, it's very difficult. They don't have the pressure or motivation to actually implement 2-3-layer authentication. Okay, people will just complain. So what to do next? You should always ask your question, is your network already being compromised? Okay. Don't think you are safe. Okay. Where are the weakest link in your network? Okay. Do you have proper cyber security strategies? Do you have incident response plan? How to test and update? This is a very important thing about incident response plan. Okay, because otherwise you don't know what to do when something like this bad happens. Do you provide sufficient cybersecurity education to your employees? You have to always educate your employees about different things happens. Okay. Some practical lists: report any type of suspicious activities to your manager as early as possible. Do not try to hide it. Okay, I know that's could be human tendency. They try to hide some mistakes or whatever bad things happens, but don't do it. Okay, report suspicious activities as early as possible. Once these are confirmed, you want to report to FBI and other authorities as early as possible. Okay, hiring a good security company to help clean up the mess. Okay, so for example, Target hired Verizon, Anthem hired Mandiant. Those are very trustworthy security companies. Collect evidence. Okay, you want to collect as much many evidence as possible. Reset password. Okay, this is very important. Remove compromised systems, but don't touch them, just disconnect them, blocking the suspicious traffic. Okay, all in all, you just need suggestions from security experts. If you don't have in-house expert, you should use some third-party consultant. So here's another discussion question: why hackers are targeting at the medical sectors? Okay, if you notice, we have seen in the last few years, attackers have realized the economics of healthcare data are very, very attractive. Criminal attacks on healthcare organizations increased 100% between 2009 and 2013. About 40% of healthcare organizations report facing criminal cyber attacks in 2013. Okay, so there are all kinds of cyber attacks targeting at medical sectors, like ransomware, all kinds of things. Okay, so there are many different reasons. Okay, I guess my personal analysis on this is medical sector. It's a kind of like a very conservative sector because they are dealing with people's life. So they are a little bit left behind to adopt newer technology. Okay, especially the cybersecurity, IT related things. Just give you one example. When I go to some of the local hospitals, I see many of them are still using Windows 7 or using Windows XP. Okay, some hospitals are still using Windows XP because that computer connect to some kind of very expensive medical devices. Okay, that just makes things very, very easy to be attacked. Okay. Other things about the social security numbers. Okay. The data breach is really bad thing, but the social security number makes things worse, because once they get a social security number, once they get your name and the date of birth, they can be you. There's a lot of identity theft, fraudulent tax return, and as I said, there's over 100 fraudulent tax return in a small town like us. Okay. This just makes things out of control. Another thing I want to discuss here is about ask the question, are Anthem doing the right thing here? They probably do things better than Target, but still not enough. Okay, the Anthem employee discovered data breach themselves, so that's a good thing. They find it internally. Anthem quickly involve law enforcement authority and set up information channel for the public. Okay, it's like 2 days later. The CEO quickly pledged credit monitoring for those who are affected, and it's like a week later. Okay, quick and proper response may save your job. Okay. So discussion question: what are the things they did correctly? What are the things they did it wrong? Answer this from security policy perspective. Again, this is really up to you how you want to answer this question, but think about what they did, especially compare this case with the Target data breach. Okay, here are something a little bit ironic. Okay, before the data breach, Anthem is actually recognized for having the best IT security in the healthcare industry. Anthem has doubled its IT security spending over the past 4 years before the attack. A recent review by the outside firm of Anthem's vulnerability to cyber attack revealed no significant findings. Okay. Former Anthem IT workers said the security protocol were more strict at Anthem than any other place they worked, including requirement to work with laptop chained to the desk, even while inside Anthem's office. So, in this case, you see here, Anthem is actually did what they can do to improve IT security. They pour the money for security stuff. They have a lot of very strict security policies and regulations. Okay, so they do almost everything they can. They even hire a outsider company. I mean, no significant findings. Okay, however, there's still this type of large-scale attack happens to Anthem. I mean, this is devastating. Okay. So I hope everyone can actually learn some lesson from the Anthem data breach. Okay, no one is safe. Whether your IT and the security department do a good job or bad job, no one is safe. Okay, and no matter how much money you spend, you probably should still spend more and hire some third-party contractors. And even so, bad things can still happen. So the trouble is healthcare organizations are behind other industries when it comes to IT, including security. Okay, Anthem has been investing heavily in IT in a bid to become a trusted mediator of complicated healthcare system. Now, for example, when 7 major hospital systems in LA and form a joint venture with Anthem, they decide to use Anthem computer system to exchange and track patient records. However, with Anthem data breach, all this just become something really ironic. Okay, so that's what I said. This Anthem data breach not only a devastating thing for the company's business, it's also for the company's expansion plan, okay, to the reputation. And that reputation is very hard to rebuild. Just think about 80 million records, okay, how many people were affected, okay, so that just makes things really, really tough. Now here we have two latest report on Anthem data breach in 2016. Okay, there are some resource 3 and 4. There are some details. Okay, and here also the Anthem released the information and notify FBI. The last attack was actually on January 30th, 2015. Okay, so what this means is even after Anthem did all those type of things they can do and notify FBI, the hacker was still in the network and the hacker was still stealing data. Okay, this is a very, very challenging issue. Median and CrowdStrike are the incident response team at Anthem, so both of them are very trustworthy names. Okay, trace back as early as February 18th, 2014, when phishing email targeting at the Amerigroup users. Okay, so if you look at the entire time frame, it's last over a year. So this means the hackers were really patient. Okay, they just keep trying. And the other thing you can learn again is email phishing. Okay, don't overlook email phishing. I know we talk about email phishing again and again, but don't overlook this issue. So more information from the two latest reports. Hacked at least 50 employee account and 90 computer system, and with 80 million records. They had done enough to prevent the cyber attacks, and they take prompt incident response to stop the damage. However, bad things just still happens. Okay, so now this is the end of the Anthem data breach. Here I show you some of the resources. Like the first one, it's an article explaining the Anthem data breach. Here is one YouTube video dissecting the Anthem data breach. Here 3 and 4 are some of the resources you can take a look, and shows you more detailed information about the Anthem data breach. Okay, so this is the end of this data breach and this case study, and thank you very much. Goodbye.